Title: 24 Hours Inside the World's Most Secure Prison, ADX Florence. The Man Who Shouldn't Be There. Before we dive into this nightmare, hit that subscribe button, because the story you're about to hear might just be the most chilling look into life inside America's most secretive fortress, ADX Florence, where even the walls seem to whisper the truth. Welcome to 24 Hours Inside the World's Most Secure Prison, if you dare to stay until the end. It started at 5:37 a.m. Colorado time. A light snow dusted the Sangre de Cristo Mountains as the morning siren echoed across the barren desert valley. To anyone passing by, the facility looked like a concrete scar, cold, silent, and endless. Locals called it the Alcatraz of the Rockies. Officially, it was the United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility, ADX Florence. Inside those walls, sunlight was a luxury. Prisoners spent 23 hours a day alone in their 7 by 12 foot cells. The other hour, if granted, was spent in a concrete pit known as the recreation yard, surrounded by walls so high that inmates couldn't even see the sky. This was where the country's most dangerous criminals were entombed: terrorists, mob bosses, serial killers, and spies. But today, there was one man inside who didn't belong there. His name was Ethan Cole, a 38-year-old investigative journalist who had been granted a rare 24-hour clearance to document the inner workings of ADX for a federal transparency project. He'd reported from war zones and cartel territories, but this assignment felt different. The air inside ADX was sterile, heavy, almost electric. He arrived escorted by Warden Douglas Kearns, a sharp-featured man with a calm authority that masked exhaustion. "This isn't a prison," Kearns said flatly as they walked through the first metal detector. "It's a box inside a box inside a box. Every door is a decision you can't undo." They passed through 5 security checkpoints. Each one required fingerprint verification, retinal scans, and dual confirmation from 2 separate guards. The deeper they went, the colder it got, not just physically, but emotionally. Inmates didn't shout here. There were no bars to rattle. No windows to look through, just soundproof walls and endless corridors lined with reinforced steel. When Ethan reached Unit H Block, he was told this section was special management. Here, they housed inmates who could not mix with anyone else. Men like Ramzi Youssef, the 1993 World Trade Center bomber, Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and Richard Reed, the shoe bomber. But one cell drew his attention: Cell 303. Its records were heavily redacted. No name, no background, no crime listed. Just one phrase scribbled in the system: transferred from undisclosed facility, January 14th. Ethan asked, "Who's in there?" The warden hesitated, then replied quietly, "You don't want to know." The journalist's day inside began like a slow descent into madness. Each inmate's door had a small slit for food trays, no direct human contact. Cameras monitored every movement, and microphones picked up every sound. Even the toilets were remotely controlled. When Ethan interviewed guards off camera, one described ADX as a place built to erase people. Another guard, Officer Hernandez, whispered, "There's something wrong with 303. He never eats, never speaks, and yet his pulse monitor always reads active, always steady." That detail stuck with Ethan. By noon, the warden showed him the control center, a sealed glass chamber overseeing all security feeds. Dozens of monitors displayed silent prisoners pacing their cells, lying motionless or staring blankly at the walls. It looked less like a prison and more like a science experiment. Then, something flickered on screen 17. Cell 303, occupied by a figure sitting perfectly still. No movement, no blinking. But the thermal camera showed a bright orange signature, indicating body heat. The strange part? The heartbeat monitor spiked briefly, even though the inmate hadn't moved. Ethan leaned closer. "Who is that?" The warden's expression hardened. "That feed's restricted." "Restricted to who?" "To everyone," he said. The journalist felt a knot tighten in his gut. He'd been granted full access, yet he was already being shut out. At 3:10 p.m., Ethan insisted on seeing the cell in person. Reluctantly, the warden agreed, but under strict supervision. They walked the silent corridor, boots echoing against concrete. The air smelled faintly metallic. As they approached cell 303, the fluorescent lights flickered once, then steadied. Inside, the inmate sat facing the wall, dressed in a standard orange jumpsuit. His hair was short, neat. "Mr. 303, the warden called. "You have a visitor." The man didn't respond, didn't even turn his head. Ethan pressed closer to the small glass slit, jotting notes. The inmate's shoulders rose and fell slowly, breathing steady. "Has he been evaluated?" Ethan asked. "Daily," said Kearns. "But every time we open that door, something happens." "Like what?" The warden didn't answer. Ethan noticed a strange mark on the cell door, a handprint, smeared faintly into the metal, like someone had pressed their palm there long ago. It was dry, dust-colored, but unmistakable. That night, as Ethan prepared for his scheduled departure briefing, the facility went into lockdown. Sirens blared, red lights flashed across the corridors, and heavy steel shutters slammed down one by one. "What's going on?" he shouted over the intercom hum. A voice crackled back. "Cell 303, activity spike. Cameras malfunctioning." He sprinted back toward the monitoring room. The warden and guards were frozen in front of the screens. Every camera feed was clear except for one. Cell 303. The inmate was standing this time, staring directly into the lens. His eyes, dark and calm, seemed to pierce through the glass. The lights flickered again, and the monitor filled with static. When the image cleared, the cell was empty, completely empty. The control room fell silent. The warden turned slowly toward Ethan. "You see now why he shouldn't be here." Ethan felt a chill race down his spine. Who was he? Kearns hesitated, then said something that made the journalist's blood run cold. "He wasn't one of ours. He wasn't transferred in, he was transferred out." Ethan blinked, confused. "Out? What do you mean?" The warden leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "I mean, ADX Florence was built for people we can't let out. But sometimes we bring them back." The lights dimmed again, the alarm stopped, and the silence returned. Heavy, suffocating, endless. Ethan turned toward the camera feed one last time. In the faint static, he thought he saw a flicker of motion in another cell. Cell 302 this time. Someone new was sitting there. Someone wearing his clothes. The ghost inmate. If you're still watching, you've got the nerves for it. Because from this point on, nothing inside ADX Florence will make sense again. Subscribe now because this next part, it's where the walls start talking back. The emergency lights had gone out. In their place, a low hum echoed through the corridors, a mechanical vibration that seemed to pulse beneath the floor. Ethan Cole stood frozen in the control room, staring at the empty monitor where cell 303 used to be. The warden's radio crackled with frantic voices. "All sectors clear except H block. We can't locate the inmate. I repeat, the cell is empty." Kearns turned to his team. "Seal every door. Nobody moves until I say." Then to Ethan, "You stay here." But Ethan didn't stay. He slipped his press badge into his pocket and followed two guards down the corridor. The deeper he went, the more his instinct screamed that something was wrong, not just with cell 303, but with the entire facility. The air was heavy, recycled too many times, and the silence between each metallic footstep was suffocating. As they reached the end of H block, one of the guards pointed his flashlight down the hall. The beam stopped on a door left slightly ajar. Cell 303. The reinforced steel door had been forced open from the inside. Impossible. ADX doors were built to withstand explosions. Ethan stepped closer. Inside, the cell was pristine. Bed perfectly made, floor spotless, everything aligned as if untouched. The only sign of life was the faintest trace of condensation on the mirror, a handprint. Fresh. The warden appeared behind him, breathing hard. "Back away," he barked, but Ethan didn't move. Who was he? Ethan asked again. "What's going on in this place?" Kearns hesitated. For the first time, the man who ran the most secure prison in the world looked uncertain. "You think this is the first time it's happened?" he said quietly. Every 3 years, a prisoner appears in our system who isn't supposed to exist. No record, no trial, no identity. And when their cell opens, they vanish. But the censors say they never leave. Ethan felt a chill run down his back. What does that mean? The warden's answer came like a confession. It means this prison holds more than inmates. It holds ghosts of the system, the ones the government erases but can't destroy. By 5:45 p.m., the lockdown lifted partially. The facility remained sealed, but the power came back online. Ethan returned to the administrative wing to pack his things for departure. But when he reached his assigned cell in the visitor unit, his belongings were gone. Even his ID badge had been removed from the file cabinet. When he asked the front officer about it, the man frowned. What badge? There's no record of a journalist named Ethan Cole entering this facility today. Ethan stared at him. Check again. The officer turned his screen toward him. The visitor log showed nothing. No entry under Cole, no clearance form, no security escort. It was as if he had never come through the gates. He backed away slowly, his pulse racing. He needed to call his editor, his proof that he wasn't losing his mind. But when he pulled out his phone, there was no signal. The prison's thick concrete walls had always blocked service, but now even the offline camera app was frozen. Then, through the flicker of the hallway lights, he saw it, a reflection in the polished glass door ahead. A man in an orange jumpsuit standing behind him. Ethan spun around. The hallway was empty. The reflection was gone. He found Officer Hernandez in the cafeteria, smoking nervously near a vending machine. The man looked pale, shaken. You saw him too, didn't you? Hernandez asked. Ethan nodded slowly. Cell 303. The officer swallowed hard. No one stays in that cell for long. The last one disappeared 2 years ago, same time of year, same pattern. They told us to delete the footage, to forget it. But I kept one copy. He pulled a small flash drive from his pocket. On the drive was a short video file, timestamped December 17, 2023. The footage showed cell 303 from the security cam. A man pacing slowly, muttering something inaudible. Suddenly, he stopped and looked up at the camera, his face blurred by static. Then, in one frame, he vanished. No cut, no fade. Just gone. Ethan's voice trembled. What's the last thing he said? The officer rewound the clip, boosted the audio, and played it again. Between the distortion, a single word emerged, whispering through the static. Swap. Ethan frowned. Swap what? Before Hernandez could answer, the lights went out again. A hard click echoed in the distance. The automatic doors sealing the block disengaged. The hum returned, louder this time, vibrating the floor under their feet. Backup generators should have kicked in, Hernandez muttered. This isn't normal. In the dark, Ethan could see faint emergency lights flickering along the walls. Then movement, shadows where no one stood. The officer drew his sidearm. We need to move. Now, they headed toward the main corridor. But halfway down, the electronic locks snapped shut again, trapping them between two steel doors. From behind the security glass, Ethan could see the warden approaching. His walk was deliberate, slow. Kern stopped on the other side of the barrier. You should have left when you had the chance, he said calmly. Ethan slammed the glass. What's happening here? The warden's face was unreadable. We were never meant to have visitors during a transition. Transition. Cell 303 wasn't an inmate. It was a protocol. Ethan blinked. What kind of protocol? Containment, Kern said. For what the Bureau calls a swap event. Every 3 years, one unauthorized subject appears in our records. But the system always compensates. It replaces the anomaly with someone new. Ethan's throat tightened. Someone new. You. Before he could react, the intercom blared a mechanical voice. Transfer initiated. Subject, Cole Ethan. Designation, 303. The electronic door behind him unlocked with a hiss. No, Ethan shouted, backing away, but the officer beside him froze mid-motion. His eyes went blank. He turned the gun toward Ethan. Don't do this, Ethan whispered. The officer's voice was monotone, robotic. Subject must complete the swap. Ethan ran. Down the corridor, past flickering lights, toward the only exit he knew, the glass chamber of the control center. But every door he passed was numbered 303. Over and over again. When he finally reached the end, the control room was empty. The monitors all showed his face, live feeds of him running through corridors that didn't exist. And then, one by one, the screens began labeling the footage. Subject 303, active. Subject 303, contained. He felt the floor shift. A cold blast of air hit his face as steel shutters dropped behind him. The room dimmed until only one light remained, a small camera glowing red. "Mr. Cole," the warden's voice said over the intercom. "The system has adjusted. Welcome to ADX." Ethan turned slowly toward the nearest monitor. On the screen was a live feed of a new visitor being escorted through security. A journalist holding a press badge, walking the same hallway Ethan had entered 24 hours ago. The name on the visitor's badge, Ethan Cole. His own face stared back at him. The monitor flickered once more, the feed freezing on that image. His double being led through the final gate. And somewhere deep inside H block, a steel door slammed shut. Cell 303, occupied. The 24th hour. If you think ADX Florence was just a prison, you haven't heard the truth yet. Subscribe now, because once the story ends, you'll question who's really locked inside. Ethan Cole opened his eyes to the sound of dripping water. The world was silent except for the faint hiss of recycled air. His wrists ached, metal cuffs biting into his skin, and the stale taste of concrete filled his mouth. As his vision cleared, he realized where he was. A small, windowless cell. Gray walls, steel toilet, single cot, fluorescent light humming above him. The plate on the door read, 303. He stood slowly, his mind spinning. His clothes had changed. He was in the orange jumpsuit of an inmate. Panic surged through him. He rushed to the door, pounding it with both fists. "Hey, somebody. I'm not supposed to be here." His voice echoed endlessly through the corridor. No answer. No footsteps. Just the sound of the ventilation system breathing for the dead. Then came the intercom click. "Good morning, Mr. Cole," a familiar voice said. "It's 6 a.m. Welcome to day 1. Ethan froze. "Kearns? What is this?" The warden's tone was eerily calm. "You wanted to know what it's like inside ADX. You wanted to tell the world the truth. So now you'll live it." "I'm not a prisoner." "No," Kearns interrupted. "You're the system's correction. Every anomaly must be balanced. You were the one who asked too many questions. You saw what you shouldn't have. So the system decided to swap you in." Ethan backed against the wall. "Swap me in for who?" The speaker crackled. "For him." And then, as if responding to that cue, the lights flickered once, revealing a faint shadow on the opposite wall. A silhouette. Standing, breathing, mirroring Ethan's movements perfectly. The air grew colder. He whispered, "Who are you?" The shadow tilted its head slightly, and for one haunting second, its lips moved. "Ethan Cole." Hours passed. Or maybe it was minutes. Time had no meaning inside ADX Florence. The silence was too perfect, too complete. Ethan tested the walls, pressed his ear against the door. From somewhere far off, a mechanical noise echoed, a grinding of gears. Then, a faint voice over the intercom, not the warden this time. "Subject stable. Swap integrity holding." He shouted, "Who's there?" "What are you doing to me?" No answer. In the corner, the security camera's red light blinked. He moved closer to it. "You're recording me, right? Then, listen to this. I'm Ethan Cole, journalist with the Standard Post. You have no right to hold me." He stopped mid-sentence. The camera tilted, slightly, deliberately, as if nodding. Ethan's heartbeat quickened. He stepped back. "Who's controlling this feed?" Then a faint click from the speaker, and Kearns' voice again. "You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Cole? You're not being recorded. You're being replaced." The lights cut out. When they flickered back on, Ethan wasn't in his cell anymore. He stood in a long corridor lined with identical doors, each one marked 303, each with a tiny viewing slit. He peered into the first. Inside, a man pacing, bald, tall, muttering. The next cell, another man, older, hands trembling. The next, a woman, pale, motionless. Each cell contained someone different. But every nameplate read the same. Cole, Ethan. He stumbled backward, breathing hard. This isn't real, this isn't real. But the corridor kept going. Hundreds of doors, stretching into the dark. And then a familiar voice from behind him said, "You shouldn't be here." He turned. Warden Kearns stood at the far end, clipboard in hand, expression cold as stone. "Is this your idea of punishment?" Ethan shouted. "This isn't punishment," Kearns replied. "It's preservation. ADX doesn't just house criminals, Mr. Cole. It houses data, minds, duplicates. You stepped into something built to erase guilt, to rewrite memory." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying the Bureau figured out a long time ago that you can't kill what the world remembers," Kearns said. "You can only replace it. The real Ethan Cole left ADX 23 hours ago. The system copied him, mind, memory, voice. You're the remainder, the residue." Ethan's throat closed. "You're lying." The warden took one slow step forward. "Am I?" Behind him, one of the doors creaked open. A figure stepped out. It was him. Same face, same expression, same voice. Ethan's double looked at him with pity. "They said it would only take a day," the other Ethan whispered. "Just one day to record everything. Your memories, your emotions, your identity." Ethan shook his head violently. "No. You were the journalist," his double continued softly. "Now you're the story." He lunged forward, grabbing the door frame, trying to escape, but the corridor shifted again. The walls blurred, dissolving into static. The floor vibrated, becoming translucent. Below it, endless cells mirrored one another, stacked in infinite levels, like a digital labyrinth. Kearns' voice boomed through the noise. "The system thanks you for your contribution." Ethan fell to his knees, screaming, "I'm still me. You can't just erase me." "You're not being erased," the warden said calmly. "You're being stored." Hours later, or maybe seconds, the noise stopped. Ethan found himself once more in the same small concrete cell. The same cot. The same blinking camera light. But something had changed. The nameplate outside his door now read, "Cole, E." His voice was hoarse. "Please let me out." The intercom clicked. "Your 24 hours are over, Mr. Cole." "Then let me go." "Impossible. You've been classified as permanent data." Ethan stood, rage boiling inside. "I'll tell the world. I'll expose this." "You already did," the voice replied. "Your story aired last night. The footage was flawless. You described the facility in perfect detail. The world believes every word. And they saw your face on camera." Ethan froze. "What?" Kearns' tone was almost sympathetic. "You fulfilled your purpose, Mr. Cole. The outside version of you, the one they let leave, told your story. And no one questioned it. ADX remains what it's always been. Secure, invisible, necessary." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "So what happens to me?" "You remain here," Kearns said softly. "Just like the others. We can't destroy consciousness, only archive it." The intercom went dead. The hum of the ventilation returned. And then, faintly, from the corridor, the echo of footsteps. Someone new was being escorted down the hall. A guard's voice called out, "Visitor clearance for journalist Ethan Cole." Ethan stared at the camera, realization washing over him like ice. The system was starting again. He moved closer, pressing his face to the lens. "Don't come here," he whispered. "It's not a prison. It's a loop." The light blinked red one final time. Then the screen cut to black. 24 hours. One name. Infinite cells. And somewhere in Colorado, behind those concrete walls, a camera kept recording. Cell 303, active. Subject, replaced. If you think that was fiction, you're not paying attention. ADX Florence still runs today, and no one really knows what goes on inside. If you want the next story, the one they'll try to erase, hit subscribe before they pull this video down.